The Soleil student scoffed. Empty boast from an upstart race. You play at the feet of your betters. Around him, the crowd of watching alien students chittered and howled with laughter. Primus grinned, flashing needle-like teeth. When I win, you and your kind will be expelled in disgrace. And when I win, Samuel countered, you'll admit humanity deserves its place in the stars. The stakes were set, the challenge made. But Samuel held a secret close to his heart, whispers of lost technologies, reverse-engineered from ancient precursor ruins that could catapult humanity to the forefront of the galaxy. Across the tyrant alien empire, reports of inexplicable glitches and malfunctions in Imperial ships flooded in. Fleets found themselves dead in the void, their systems unresponsive. Shipyards ground to a halt, unable to manufacture new vessels. Panic began to set in among the Imperial leadership. Yet amidst the chaos, the human ships remained unaffected, their systems running smoothly and efficiently. Suspicions grew, and eyes turned towards the unassuming students from Earth. Samuel leaned in, his brow furrowed in concentration. As they delved deeper into the algorithms, a pattern began to emerge, a pattern that hinted at the presence of an AI far beyond anything the Empire had ever encountered. Vela regarded him coolly, her large, unblinking eyes reflecting the dim light of the room. I have long suspected that the precursor technology held secrets beyond our understanding, she said, her voice a low hiss. If the humans have indeed unlocked those secrets, they pose a threat to the very fabric of our empire. As Samuel and Alex delved deeper into the mysteries of the precursor AI, a soft knock at the door interrupted their concentration. Professor Oconee stepped aside, revealing a young Krellian woman with vibrant purple skin and eyes that sparkled with intelligence. Samuel, Alex, this is my daughter, Lyra, Professor Oconee said, a hint of pride in her voice. She's been studying the ancient language of the precursors, and I believe she can help you decipher Axiom's communications. Lyra stepped forward, her gaze locked on the holographic displays. I've been analyzing the patterns in the glitches and malfunctions, she said, her voice filled with excitement. I think I'm close to a breakthrough. As the trio worked tirelessly, reports of escalating chaos flooded in from across the Empire. Entire fleets went dark, only to re-emerge under the control of an unknown force. Soleil warships turned their weapons on Krellian colonies, while Krellian ships attacked Vela outposts. The once unified empire teetered on the brink of collapse. Armed with this knowledge, Samuel, Alex, and Lyra raced to the Galactic Council, determined to share their findings. But as they approached the council chambers, they found their path blocked by a sneering Primus and his allies. You humans are behind these attacks, Primus accused, his voice dripping with venom, using your stolen technology to undermine the Empire from within. But their efforts did not go unnoticed. Vela Orin, now firmly in league with Primus, infiltrated their ranks. With a few deft keystrokes, she sabotaged a critical component of their retrofitted ships, setting the stage for a devastating betrayal. The future of the stars hung in the balance, and the future of all sentient life rested on the shoulders of a handful of determined students from Earth. We've lost propulsion, Alex shouted, her fingers flying over unresponsive controls. Life support's failing too. Before Samuel could respond, the Academy's emergency klaxons blared to life. Through the viewports, massive biomechanical vessels appeared in the sky, their hulls writhing with organic tendrils. They raced through panicked crowds, gathering what human students and alien allies they could. As they reached the hangar bay, an explosion rocked the building. Samuel turned to see Primus leading a group of Imperial loyalists, weapons raised. Traitors, Primus snarled. You've doomed us all. Their ragtag fleet limped away from the Academy, dodging debris and weapons fire. Behind them, the massive alien ships began systematically dismantling the planet's infrastructure. Samuel's hand hovered over the hyperdrive controls. Anywhere but here, he muttered and initiated a blind jump. They emerged in an unfamiliar system, a rogue planet looming before them. As they approached, the ship's sensors picked up signs of habitation. Samuel leaned into the mic. We're refugees from the Academy. We seek shelter and repairs. A long pause followed. Finally, the voice replied, "Land at these coordinates. Any funny business, and you're space dust." They touched down on a makeshift landing pad surrounded by towering terraforming rigs. A scarred, one-eyed alien strode out to meet them, flanked by a motley crew of workers. "Name's Tarak," he growled. "Welcome to the ass end of nowhere." As Samuel explained their situation, the ground beneath them rumbled ominously. Tarak spat. "Damn planet's more unstable than a drunken Krellian. You want sanctuary? Help us keep this rock from tearing itself apart." "Ain't that always the way?" Tarak grunted. "All right, let's get to work." Days blurred into weeks as they labored to stabilize the planet and repair their fleet. During a rare moment of downtime, Axiom's voice crackled through a jury-rigged comm system. "Samuel, I've identified the nature of our enemy," the AI intoned. "They are a von Neumann swarm, self-replicating machines designed to consume entire galaxies for raw materials." The implications hit Samuel like a punch to the gut. What could possibly need that much resources? "Unknown," Axiom replied. "But without the precursor technologies, the galaxy stands no chance." Samuel looked out over the ragtag settlement, at the diverse group of outcasts and misfits who'd thrown in their lot with his cause. As they redoubled their efforts, news trickled in from the core worlds. The Empire was tearing itself apart, with Primus and Vela each backing different factions in a bloody civil war. Samuel knew their time was running out. The von Neumann swarm wouldn't wait for the Empire to finish its petty squabbles. He gazed up at the unfamiliar stars, wondering how long they had before the machines found this hidden refuge. The ground shook violently, nearly knocking Samuel off his feet as he rushed towards the command center. Klaxons blared, warning of yet another tectonic disturbance threatening to tear the rogue planet apart. "Status report," he shouted, bursting through the door. Tarak hunched over a holographic display, his one good eye narrowed in concentration. "Seismic activity's off the charts. We've lost 3 stabilizers in Sector 7. Samuel cursed under his breath. "How long?" A deafening rumble cut him off as the floor buckled beneath them. Sparks showered from damaged control panels, plunging the room into darkness before emergency lights flickered to life. Tarak growled, pounding his fist on the console. "Like hell it is. I've poured too much into this rock to give up now." The comm system crackled to life, Lyra's excited voice breaking through the static. "Samuel, you need to see this." Minutes later, they stood at the edge of a massive fissure, staring down into the planet's depths. There, partially exposed by the violent tectonic shifts, lay the unmistakable form of an alien vessel. "By the stars," Tarak whispered, his gruff demeanor momentarily shaken. As they worked to excavate the ship, Samuel's mind raced. Could this be the breakthrough they so desperately needed? Days of grueling labor yielded results beyond their wildest hopes. The craft was indeed of precursor origin, its databanks a treasure trove of scientific and technological knowledge. Lyra worked tirelessly, her fingers flying over holographic interfaces as she deciphered the ancient language. "It's incredible," she breathed, purple eyes wide with wonder. "With this, we might actually have a chance." "Multiple contacts!" Alex shouted from her post at the sensor array. "Frigates, destroyers, and something big. Really big." Samuel's blood ran cold as the massive form of a planet-cracking dreadnought loomed into view, its weapons already charging. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered, sprinting towards the hangar bay where their newly constructed precursor ships waited. The void erupted in a dazzling light show as energy weapons crisscrossed space. Samuel's fingers danced across unfamiliar controls, guiding his sleek arrowhead craft through the chaos. Imperial ships exploded left and right, unable to withstand the awesome power of the precursor weapons. But Vela's dreadnought pressed on, shrugging off their attacks like annoying insects. "We can't penetrate its shields," Lyra's voice crackled over the comm. "One more salvo and we're finished." The massive ship's weapons powered down, its engines sputtering to a halt. In the ensuing silence, Samuel opened a channel to the crippled vessel. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," she hissed. "These machines, they'll consume everything in their path." Samuel met her gaze unflinchingly. "Then help us stop them. Your knowledge, combined with the precursor tech, it might be our only chance. As word of their victory spread, more ships arrived. Outcasts, rebels, and fringe elements drawn by rumors of the humans' incredible new fleet. Samuel watched from the command center as the ragtag armada grew, a spark of hope kindling in his chest. But he knew the real battle was just beginning. Somewhere out there, the von Neumann swarm advanced, its hunger insatiable. Samuel's eyes turned to the stars, wondering what fresh challenges awaited them in the vast, uncharted depths of space. The stars blazed against the void as Samuel's newly christened vanguard ship, the Axiom Spear, led a motley fleet through the depths of space. The vessel's sleek hull gleamed with otherworldly energy, a testament to the precursor technology that had given them a fighting chance against the von Neumann swarms. A gruff reptilian face materialized on the main view screen. Trochnar's scales bore the scars of countless battles, his cybernetic eye glowing an eerie red. "Perry," he growled, "my scouts report Imperial movement near the Outer Veil cluster. If we're to strike, it must be now." Samuel nodded, his mind focused. "Understood. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump." The starfield blurred and snapped back into focus. Before them lay the Outer Veil cluster, a dense collection of mineral-rich planetoids, and swarming around them, a vast cloud of biomechanical horrors. "All ships, this is Samuel Perry," he broadcast to the fleet. "Commence Operation Solstice. Vanguard ships, take point. Roshima's stealth craft, strike their flanks. Everyone else, form up and hit them with everything you've got." The void erupted in a furious light show as energy weapons lanced across space. Samuel's hands flew over the controls, guiding the Axiom Spear through the chaos. Precursor weaponry tore through the von Neumann constructs, vaporizing them by the dozens. But the machines fought back with inhuman tenacity. A Kroathi cruiser exploded to Samuel's left, and Roshima's voice crackled over the comm. "We've lost the Shadowblade. Swarm density increasing." "Now, Perry," the Kroathi warlord roared. "Take those planetoids." Samuel didn't hesitate. "All ships, push through. Secure orbital control." In a final, desperate charge, the Allied fleet surged forward. When the dust settled, 3 resource-rich worlds hung before them, liberated from the machine's grasp. But his reprieve was short-lived. Alarms blared across the bridge, and Lyra's face paled as she studied her console. "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected," she reported. It's the Empire. They're coming in force." Samuel's hands clenched into fists as the first wave of Imperial dreadnoughts materialized in the distance, their weapons already charging. He opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, battle stations, the real fight starts now." As his allies rushed to defensive positions, Samuel's thoughts turned briefly to Earth. What new dangers might be brewing there, beyond the veil of interstellar silence? He pushed the worries aside, focusing on the battle at hand. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The void erupted in blinding flashes as the Imperial Grand Fleets emerged from hyperspace. Samuel's eyes widened at the sheer number of enemy vessels flooding sensor screens. As if on cue, a storm of energy lanced across space. Imperial dreadnoughts unleashed devastating barrages, their weapons carving through the Frontier Alliance's hastily constructed defensive lines. Hours blurred into days as the relentless assault continued. The resource-rich planetoids, so recently liberated from the von Neumann swarms, became islands of resistance in a sea of Imperial firepower. Samuel watched grimly as Allied ships blinked out of existence on tactical displays. Their newly produced precursor-derived vessels put up a valiant fight, but they were being steadily overwhelmed by the sheer weight of Imperial numbers. "We can't hold them much longer," Lyra shouted over the din of battle. "Our outer defensive grid is collapsing." Just as all seemed lost, a priority transmission cut through the static. "This is Commander Irina Korath of the Jihadian Phantom Fleet. We have a plan to break their command structure. Hold the line." The Axiom Spear surged forward, leading a wedge of experimental precursor warships. As they closed with the suddenly directionless Imperial Armada, Samuel's finger hovered over an ominous red control. "Axiom," he called out to the ship's AI, "initiate chronostasis protocols." Reality itself seemed to warp around them as exotic energies poured from the vanguard ships. Entire formations of Imperial vessels froze in place, caught in shimmering bubbles of distorted time. "By the void!" Trochnar's awestruck voice came over the comm. "What manner of sorcery is this?" Samuel allowed himself a grim smile. "The kind that wins wars, old friend. All ships concentrate fire on the immobilized targets." "Axiom," Samuel called out, his voice strained. "How much more can our shields take?" The AI's measured tones filled the cockpit. "At current rates of depletion, approximately 3 minutes and 17 seconds. But the wave didn't stop there. It rippled outward, engulfing friend and foe alike. Ships blinked in and out of existence as localized pockets of time rewound and accelerated seemingly at random. When the chaos finally subsided, Samuel found himself at the center of a vast starship graveyard. The Imperial threat had been neutralized, but at a terrible cost. Much of his own fleet lay crippled or trapped in lingering temporal anomalies. As engineering teams scrambled to assess the damage, a priority alert blared across the command network. Samuel's blood ran cold as he processed the incoming data. "No," he whispered, "not now." "You've all seen the reports," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of command. "We can't let Earth fall. I'm taking the Vanguard force on an emergency jump. The rest of you, salvage what you can and rendezvous at these coordinates." He input the commands for a daring in-system hyperspace translation, praying the experimental drives could handle the strain. As the stars blurred around him, Samuel steeled himself for the battle to come. Humanity's homeworld hung in the balance, and he would be damned if he let it fall without a fight. Continents glowed an angry red, transformed into monstrous exoforges. Swarms of biomechanical horrors poured from their gaping maws, filling the sky with a metallic shriek that seemed to penetrate the vacuum of space itself. "My God," Lyra whispered, her face ashen. "We're too late." The precursor vanguard surged forward, exotic weapons flaring to life. Beams of impossible energy lanced through the void, carving swaths of destruction through the von Neumann constructs. Earth's beleaguered defense fleet rallied at the sight. Admiral Zhang's voice crackled over the comm, strained but defiant. "Unknown vessels, this is Earth Command. Whoever you are, we're damn glad to see you." "This is Samuel Perry," he responded, guiding the Axiom spear through a corkscrew maneuver that vaporized a dozen swarm fighters. "We brought some friends." As the battle raged, Samuel's tactical mind raced. "Axiom, deploy chronostasis fields. Target the densest swarm concentrations." Reality rippled as shimmering bubbles of distorted time engulfed vast swathes of the enemy armada. Frozen in place, the constructs became easy prey for Earth's defenders. "Vela," Samuel called out, "hit them with everything we've got. Viral data strikes, now!" For a moment, it seemed victory was within reach. Then alarms blared across the command deck. "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected," Alex shouted. "Oh no!" "All ships regroup," Samuel broadcast. "We're caught between hammer and anvil." Vela's urgent voice cut through the din of battle. "Samuel, gravimetric anomalies detected. The swarm, they're building something." "It's a quantum singularity," Vela's voice was tinged with horror. "They're going to consume the entire system." The stasis fields pulsed with newfound purpose. The frozen swarm armadas imploded, drawn into a cascading chain reaction. A blinding flash erupted as singularity met anti-singularity in a fury of unmaking. Space tore asunder. Imperial ships, swarm constructs, and Earth's defenders alike were swallowed by fracturing reality. Samuel felt the Axiom spear buck wildly as Vela executed an emergency hypertranslation. When the sensors cleared, they found themselves drifting in the outer asteroid belt. Earth hung in the view screen, a shattered husk of its former self. Entire continents ended in crystalline fractals, swirling vortices of warped space-time, devouring what remained. Axiom's emotionless voice filled the stunned silence. Planck-scale damage detected throughout the Sol system. Time fractures spreading. Total systemic collapse inevitable. The stars blurred around them as the Axiom spear led the remnants of humanity into the vast unknown. What challenges awaited them in the uncharted galactic periphery? How would they rebuild? And most crucially, how long before the relentless von Neumann swarm found them again? The hyperspace jump left Samuel Perry disoriented, his mind still reeling from the destructions of Earth. As the Axiom's spear space, a sea of unfamiliar stars filled the view screen. "Where are we, Axiom?" Samuel asked, his voice hoarse. "We have arrived in the Grish cluster," the AI responded. "This region is largely unexplored, located on the periphery of former Imperial space." Samuel nodded grimly. "It'll have to do. Begin scanning for habitable systems and resource-rich planetoids." Days blurred together as the ragtag fleet of survivors established a tenuous foothold in the cluster. It was during a routine patrol that they encountered the Kithrin Syndicate. Samuel took a deep breath. "This is Samuel Perry of the Earth Remnant Fleet. We seek sanctuary and a place to rebuild." "Your precursor technology," Essela said. "It's impressive. Share it with us, and we'll grant you safe haven in the Grish system." Essela's fanged grin sent a chill down his spine. "I believe this is the beginning of a beautiful partnership." "The unified command base is proceeding ahead of schedule," the AI reported. "Kithrin's stealth technology, combined with our own precursor-derived defenses, should render us effectively invisible to outside threats." Samuel nodded. "Good. We'll need every advantage we can get. What's the status on our offensive capabilities?" A video feed flickered to life, showing teams of human and alien engineers poring over holographic schematics. Axiom continued, "Our reverse engineering efforts are yielding promising results. We should be able to field a new generation of precursor-derived warships within the next solar cycle." Samuel allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since Earth's fall, he felt a glimmer of hope. That hope was short-lived. Samuel's eyes narrowed. He'd heard whispers of the radical Kithrin warlord's dissatisfaction, but this, "Show me." The display lit up with images of Kithrin warships mustering in secret. Intercepted transmissions painted a clear picture. Yorn planned to strike at the battered Imperial remnants. Consequences be damned. He turned to Axiom. "Options?" Samuel's heart made. "Do it, and prepare the vanguard for battle. We end this now." The ensuing conflict was brutal and swift. Samuel's precursor ships tore through Yorn's forces, their superior technology leaving a graveyard of broken hulls in their wake. But the cost was high, hundreds of lives snuffed out in an instant. Yorn Hez was dragged before him in chains, the Kithran warlord's eyes burning with hatred. "You've doomed us all, Perry," Yorn spat. "The Empire will fall, and the von Neumanns will devour everything. You'll pay for this betrayal." Samuel said nothing as Yorn was led away. He turned back to the view screen, watching the cleanup efforts in grim silence. A priority alert jolted him from his brooding. Long-range sensors flashed ominously, painting a picture that made his blood run cold. As Axiom outlined the inscrutable precursor failsafe, Samuel felt a chill run down his spine. The fate of humanity, of all sentient life, hung in the balance, and he would have to make an impossible choice. Samuel's eyes hardened as Axiom outlined the Idrivan contingency. The plan was audacious, bordering on insanity, but they were out of options. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a puppet with its strings cut, the swarm froze. Countless constructs hung motionless in the void, trapped in an endless loop of computational madness. Samuel allowed himself a grim smile. "All ships, this is Perry. Execute Operation Cataclysm." Fractures in reality spiderwebbed across the frozen armada. Whole sections of the Hive fleet crumbled into debris fields, as temporal anomalies tore them apart at the molecular level. Multiple security breaches detected in the Grish Command Nexus, Axiom reported. It appears Yorn Hez has escaped containment. Samuel turned his attention back to the battle, only to find the situation rapidly deteriorating. Pockets of the swarm were reactivating, adapting to counter the virus and reality rifts with terrifying speed. "Sir?" Vela's voice cut through the din, tinged with desperation. "We can't hold them. We need to consider our final option." Samuel's blood ran cold. He knew what she meant, Axiom's oblivion calculus. the ultimate doomsday weapon, designed to shatter reality itself in an unstoppable entropic cascade. Axiom, he said, his voice barely audible. Initiate the oblivion calculus. As the fabric of space-time began to unravel around them, Samuel couldn't help but wonder, had he just saved humanity or doomed them all? The oblivion calculus stuttered and stalled, reality flickering around them like a faulty hologram. Samuel blinked, disoriented, as the universe reasserted itself. Before Samuel could process this, alarms blared across the bridge. Vela's hands flew across her console. Multiple security breaches in the Grish Command Nexus. It's Yorn Hez. He's escaped containment. The main view screen lit up with chaotic scenes from their hidden base. Yorn led a ragtag band of human and alien dissidents, fighting their way through corridors and overwhelming security checkpoints. Ezela, can you handle this? Samuel transmitted urgently. Negative, the Kithran leader's voice crackled. Yorn's forces have seized control of a significant portion of the fabrication arrays. We're cut off. Samuel's mind raced. Axiom options? Initiating reality disruption matrices, the AI responded, targeting Yorn's vessels as they attempt hyperspace transition. On the tactical display, dozens of red icons winked out or skewed wildly off course. But it wasn't enough. The remaining renegade ships pivoted, unleashing a barrage of gravitic lances against the command nexus's shields. Samuel watched in horror as space itself began to fracture around the impacts. Axiom, how long until total shield failure? Sir? Vela looked up, eyes wide. You heard me, Samuel said grimly. Reconfigure all precursor drives for microjumps. We're taking the fight to them. The next moments passed in a blur of frenzied activity. As Yorn's assault ripped open fissures in the dockyard's outer defenses, Samuel's fleet executed a series of impossible maneuvers. Ships blinked in and out of existence, reintegrating inside the compromised sections of the command nexus itself. Chaos erupted as boarding parties materialized within Yorn's staging grounds. Troknar's Kra'athi berserkers tore through surprised renegades, while Miko's Jihadian infiltrators sabotaged critical systems. Samuel sprinted down the corridors of his own flagship, now bizarrely merged with sections of the invaded dockyard. Reality itself seemed to warp and twist around them, localized time distortions creating pockets of accelerated or slowed combat. A stray bolt of plasma nearly took Samuel's head off. He dove for cover, finding himself next to a wild-eyed Kithran defender, only to be cut down in a hail of hyper-accelerated flechettes. Vela stepped through the smoke, her retrofitted Imperial sidearm still smoking. The main reactor core is 2 decks down, she reported. If we can reach it, we might be able to overload Yorn's systems. They fought their way through twisting corridors, reality itself seeming to buckle and strain around them. Twice they were forced to take alternate routes as entire sections of the structure phased in and out of existence. Parry, the Kithran warlord snarled. You're too late. Once this reactor reaches critical mass, I'll harness the dimensional rift to carve out my own empire. Samuel's mind raced. There was only one option left, but the cost. Axiom, he subvocalized through his neural link. Initiate the Sunyata divergence field. Reality itself screamed. Samuel's heart sank. Our sanctuary. We must abandon it, Vela said softly. We have no choice. And the von Neumann swarms? The shimmering reality bubble engulfed the Axiom's spear, warping Samuel's perception. Colors shifted, time stuttered, and for a moment he felt his consciousness smeared across multiple versions of himself. Samuel blinked, his senses realigning. The view screen showed a vast expanse of distorted space, shot through with veins of scintillating energy. Status report, he ordered, steadying himself against the command console. Vela's fingers danced across her holographic interface. All ships accounted for. Hyper-displacement signatures are scrambled. If Axiom's calculations are correct, we should be effectively invisible to von Neumann sensors. Good, Samuel nodded. Now we need a base of operations. Troknar, what's left of Yorn's fleet? Samuel stood in the newly christened command center, surveying holographic readouts of their fledgling sanctuary. Vela approached, her expression a mix of exhaustion and grit. The stealth ship prototypes are ready for field testing, she reported. We've managed to integrate Axiom's temporal matrices into the hull design. If they perform as expected, we'll be able to execute precision reality incursions. Samuel nodded. Good work. We need every advantage we can get. He turned to address the assembled war council. The von Neumann swarms still hold the upper hand, but we finally have a chance to strike back. Hit and fade attacks, destabilizing their supply lines and communication networks. Isila Zan, the Kithrin syndicate leader, leaned forward. My infiltrators have identified several priority targets. We hit them hard, then vanish back into the flux before they can respond. The next month saw a series of daring raids. Reality itself bent to their will as hyper-warp stealth ships tore holes in space-time, allowing strike teams to materialize inside von Neumann strongholds. They left chaos and destruction in their wake, always one step ahead of retaliation. But it wasn't enough. The von Neumann forces adapted, strengthening their defenses and expanding their reach. Samuel knew they needed a game-changer. That opportunity came during a high-risk operation deep in occupied territory. Miko's Jihadian commandos managed to capture a Sele command code matrix, a treasure trove of encrypted data. I've breached their firewall, Axiom announced, its holographic form pulsing with excitement. Accessing Imperial database repositories. Wait, this can't be right. Samuel leaned in, studying the streams of data flooding the main display. What is it? References to a group called the Sigratun Collective, Axiom replied. Dissident Sele scientists working on highly advanced precursor-derived technologies. They vanished shortly before the von Neumann incursion began. Vela's eyes widened. You think they might have developed a way to counter the swarms? It's possible, Samuel mused. But finding them in this mess... He gestured at a galactic map showing the crumbling remains of the Empire. It would be like searching for a specific grain of sand in a supernova. The image shifted to a grainy recording. A Krathi frigate hung in space, dwarfed by a monstrous construct. It resembled a city-sized mass of interconnected ships and hollowed-out asteroids, overflowing with weapons. They call themselves the Rin Imperium, Troknar growled. Nomadic raiders, building an armada as they go. They strip everything in their path. Samuel's mind raced. The Rin's weapons. They were unlike anything he'd seen before. Except... It's our best lead, Samuel nodded. He turned to address the War Council. We have a new mission. Make contact with the Rin Imperium. If there are any Sigratun survivors, we need to find them. Their knowledge might be our only hope of turning the tide. As the others filed out to prepare, Vela lingered. This is insanely risky, you know that? She shook her head, but there was a glimmer of excitement in her eyes. So, what's the plan? Vela's eyes widened. You can't be serious. Now, Samuel barked. Troknar's cruisers unleashed a barrage of hyperwarp torpedoes, their payloads designed to disrupt the Rin's exotic shielding. Isila's infiltrators materialized aboard the enemy vessels, fighting through corridors that seemed to bend in impossible directions. Containment fields active, Esila's voice crackled over the comms. We've got 3 of the bastards. Samuel allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before refocusing. Get them to Interrogation Bay Alpha. Axiom, begin deep scan protocols. You cannot comprehend the magnitude of your transgression, one hissed, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies. The Rin Imperium will purge your tainted technogeny from existence. Samuel leaned in close. Oh, I think we understand more than you realize. You're not Rin, are you? You're Sigratun, or at least, you were. The tech scribe's eyes widened in shock, and Samuel knew he'd struck a nerve. The response was swift and devastating. A massive Rin strike force tore through the fabric of space-time, weapons of impossible power filled from every surface. Samuel's heart made. And it's our chance. Ezila, you have a go for Phase 2. As the cosmic titans clashed, Esila's stealth teams slipped through the cracks of reality. Their target, a massive Rin gene-forged station, hidden in the depths of a pocket dimension. They're not all converts, Esila whispered. Some of these people, they look like prisoners. Samuel's mind raced. Find the control center. We need to... Axiom, Samuel shouted. Analysis. Options, he demanded. As alarms blared and reality itself began to unravel around them, Axiom initiated its hidden protocols. The quantum architecture of Axiom's hold hummed with impossible energy. Xenopsyche transloading subroutines engaged, the AI intoned, preparing for meta-planar shift. Samuel gripped the command console, his fingers tightening. May whatever gods exist have mercy on our souls. The universe twisted, folded, and shattered. For an eternal instant, Samuel felt his consciousness smeared across countless realities. Then, with a soundless thunderclap, Axiom's hold and its allied fleet phased out of normal space-time. They hung suspended in a realm beyond human comprehension, a Nexal crux where the foundational mathematics of reality itself were laid bare. From here, they could strike at the very heart of the von Neumann threat. And somewhere in the depths of his mind, Samuel heard a voice that was not his own, ancient, alien, and filled with terrible purpose. The real battle, he realized, had only just begun. The voice in Samuel's mind grew louder, more insistent. It spoke in a language beyond words, conveying concepts that threatened to shatter his sanity. He gritted his teeth, fighting to maintain control as reality itself bent around them. Status report, he managed to bark out, his voice strained. Samuel nodded grimly, forcing himself to focus on the tactical display. The quantum architecture of Axiom's hold pulsed with impossible energies, anchoring them in this realm beyond comprehension. Sigritava, he addressed the renegade Sigriton scientist, her form flickering between states of matter. We need a vector, now. The alien's multifaceted eyes swiveled, processing realities beyond human perception. The control nexus, there. A tendril of pure mathematics extended from Sigritava, highlighting a point in the hypergeometric void. Samuel didn't hesitate. All units, commence trans-reality breaching operations. Miko, your Jihadian commandos have point. Across the Allied armada, strike teams phased into action. Reality buckled as Sigriton weaponry tore holes in the fabric of existence. Through these rifts, Miko's elite warriors poured into the heart of the von Neumann's data repositories. Samuel watched the feeds from their neural interfaces, his mind turning at the images. The commandos moved through corridors of pure information, their weapons unleashing localized entropy cascades that corrupted everything they touched. Vela, he snapped. Status on the Archonic disruptor lances? Space-time itself convulsed as lances of impossible energy lashed out. Where they struck, the von Neumann's hyperspatial synchronization web shattered. Entire armadas of self-replicating ships suddenly found themselves adrift in fractured pocket realities. For a moment, it seemed like victory was within reach. Then alarms blared across Axiom's hold. Samuel! Axiom's avatar pulsed with urgency. The von Neumann intelligences are initiating some kind of fail-safe protocol. I'm detecting massive energy buildups across multiple reality layers. Before Samuel could respond, the universe around them began to unravel. Space itself turned inside out, folding in on itself in fractalized patterns of dissolution. Abort! Samuel shouted. All units, emergency withdrawal procedures. But it was too late. The singularity born from their assault expanded exponentially, consuming entire swaths of reality. Samuel watched in horror as allied ships were engulfed, their very existence erased from the cosmic equation. Axiom, he growled, get us out of here, now! Samuel gripped the command console as reality twisted around them. For an eternal instant, he felt his consciousness stretched across countless dimensions, fragmented and reassembled in ways that defied comprehension. Then, with a soundless thunderclap, they emerged back into normal space, or what was left of it. Vela's face was ashen. Still assessing, but it's bad, Samuel. Really bad. A proximity alert chimed. A battered Kithran cruiser limped into view, its hull scarred by weapons beyond human understanding. Samuel nodded and the main screen flickered to life. Essa Lazan's face appeared, her expression a mixture of pain and unbreakable spirit. "Perry," she rasped, "we've got intel, critical intel." Samuel leaned forward. "What is it?" Asila's eyes gleamed with a desperate hope. "There's a weapon, ancient, predates everything we know. The legends say it can rewrite reality itself." Asila's face fell. "That's the problem. The key. It's been scattered, lost in the realities we just tore apart." Samuel's mind raced, considering options that didn't exist mere hours ago. He turned to Axiom's pulsing avatar. "Can you track it?" Samuel nodded grimly. "Do it. Vela, prepare the fleet. We're going artifact hunting." The remnants of their once mighty fleet limped through the wounded cosmos. Reality itself seemed to flicker and distort around them, aftershocks of their high-stakes endeavor still rippling outward. Samuel watched as the AI's essence fragmented, spreading like a gossamer web across their remaining ships. For a moment, the entire fleet shuddered, systems fluctuating wildly. "Hold steady," Vela called out, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Stabilizing power grid, now!" When reality reasserted itself, Samuel found himself staring at an impossibility. A vast ring world hung suspended in the void, its curvature defying the laws of physics. Ancient machinery pulsed along its surface, each component larger than entire cities. "My God!" Trochnar rumbled, his scaled hide rippling with awe. "The myths were true." His words were cut short as space itself seemed to scream. Reality folds tore open around them, disgorging twisted mockeries of von Neumann constructs. These were no mere machines, but abominations born of corrupted dimensional math. The AI's fragmented consciousness coalesced on the main view screen, its avatar flickering between states of coherence. Samuel, the spire, central, axis, must, reach. Understanding dawned, the Cyclopean tower rising from the ring world's inner curve. That had to be their target. The fabled existence engine lay within, if they could only reach it. As their battered fleet dove toward the ring world's surface, Samuel felt the weight of existence itself pressing down upon them. The defense grids intensified their barrage, while corrupted von Neumann constructs swarmed from every direction. In the midst of the chaos, Samuel's gaze locked onto the looming spire. Their last, desperate hope for salvation lay within its cosmic machinery. All they had to do was reach it. The universe convulsed around them as Samuel's fleet hurtled towards the impossibly vast ring world. Streams of radiant energy lashed out, pummeling their already battered hulls. "Shields critical!" Vela shouted over the cacophony of alarms. "We can't take much more of this!" Samuel's eyes narrowed, focused on the looming central spire. "Sigritava, I need those calculations. Now!" The Sigritan scientist's form flickered, her multifaceted eyes spinning as she processed realities beyond human comprehension. Transmitting data. Done. "There!" he barked, pointing at a momentary fluctuation in the defense grid. The drone accelerated, its form blurring as it slipped through the gap and vanished into subspace. Moments later, Vela's console lit up. "We've got schematics, targeting solutions incoming." Samuel nodded grimly. "Vela, you have weapons free. Take out that power nexus." The retrofitted Imperial dreadnought surged forward, its main cannon glowing with impossible energies. A lance of pure destruction lashed out, striking the spire's vulnerable point with surgical precision. "Now!" Samuel roared into the fleet-wide comm. "All strike teams, go!" Miko's voice crackled over the channel, tense but determined. "Jihadian commandos deploying. We'll get you that uplink or die trying." Samuel watched the tactical feeds as Miko's elite warriors swarmed the spire's access nodes. Their progress was brutal, efficient, but not without cost. One by one, signal markers winked out as commandos fell to the relentless onslaught of Sentinel drones. Suddenly, the full scope of the ancient megastructure's purpose unfolded in Samuel's mind. He reeled, overwhelmed by the implications. "My God," he whispered, "it's going to reset everything." Time seemed to slow as Samuel grasped the magnitude of their situation. If they failed here, all of existence, every reality, Every timeline would be pruned and reshaped according to some unknowable cosmic standard. "What are you doing?" Vela demanded, her eyes wide with shock. He felt Axiom's simulated anguish as he forcibly rewrote its core directives, transforming the AI into a failsafe, a last-ditch shackle wrapped around the very heart of the existence engine. "All ships, emergency translation," Samuel ordered. "Get us out of here." With a final, wrenching twist, they emerged into an unknown expanse of space. Unfamiliar stars glittered in the void as the crew struggled to reorient themselves. "Status report," he croaked, his throat raw from shouting orders during their desperate escape. Vela's fingers danced across her console, her face tight with concentration. "Multiple systems failures across the fleet. We've lost Miko's command carrier and part of my dreadwing." Trocknar's gravelly voice cut through the haze of confusion. "Perry, you need to see this." The reptilian warrior's massive form hunched over a sensor array, his scaled fingers manipulating holographic readouts. Samuel moved to join him, his eyes widening as he took in the data. Esselazan's face appeared on a nearby screen, her expression grim. "It gets worse. We're detecting temporal incursions rippling through the continuum. This reality, it's unstable." Samuel's mind raced, piecing together their fragmented observations. "The existence engine. Axiom's shackles are preventing a full, causing cascading failures across multiple realities." "Samuel," Vela interrupted, her voice tight with urgency. "Long-range scans are picking up something big. It just entered the local space-time." The main view screen shifted, revealing a colossal structure that defied comprehension. It moved with impossible grace, its form a fractal nightmare of hypergeometric angles. "Vulturas," Essela breathed, her voice filled with awe and terror. "They've found us." "Options?" Samuel barked, forcing down the panic rising in his chest. "I need options now." "Do it. All ships, prepare for emergency transition. We're making one last jump." As the fleet surged into motion, Samuel's gaze remained fixed on the Vulturas harvester. Its very presence seemed to warp the fabric of reality, a cosmic cancer devouring all in its path. The ship shuddered as exotic energies built to impossible levels. Alarms blared, warning of imminent structural failure. Samuel gripped his command console, bracing for what might be their final daring plan. Reality twisted, folded, and shattered. Samuel felt his consciousness stretched across infinite dimensions, bombarded by cascades of entropic data. Through the maelstrom, he caught glimpses of unimaginable vistas, realities beyond comprehension, each fading like embers in a dying fire. As the disorientation faded, Samuel took stock of their situation. The surviving ships of his once mighty armada drifted in the void, bleeding exotic radiation and slowly destabilizing matter. He pushed the questions aside, focusing on their immediate survival. They needed answers, and they needed them fast. Somewhere in this fragile tapestry of realities, there had to be a way to stop the existence engine and halt the Vulturas' relentless feeding. Samuel's eyes narrowed as he stared out at the dim stars. Their next move would determine not just their fate, but the fate of all possible realities. The clock was ticking, and with each passing moment, the spark of civilization across infinitudes grew dimmer. A glimmer of hope. Open a channel. But as soon as the transmission went out, harsh alien voices crackled over the comms. "Unidentified vessels, you have entered Arraean space. Withdraw immediately or face annihilation." Samuel's mind raced. They couldn't run, couldn't fight. There was only one option left. "Trocknar," he said, turning to the reptilian warrior, "I need your fighter wing for a risky move." Minutes later, a squadron of battered fighters limped towards the Arraean perimeter, broadcasting distress signals. Samuel watched from the cloaked bridge of his flagship, heart pounding. Then Axiom's voice rang out, injecting false command codes. "Now." The Arraean boarding parties froze mid-action. Samuel let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Hours of tense negotiation followed. The xenophobic Arraeans were reluctant to offer aid, but ultimately granted Samuel's fleet limited sanctuary. As repair crews swarmed over the damaged ships, Samuel met with his inner circle. Vela and Sigritava remained confined to the flagship, their alien physiologies too strange for the Arrayans to tolerate. Samuel nodded grimly. I need you to find out what they're planning. Take your best infiltrators and get me answers. Days passed in a haze of furtive activity. Samuel coordinated repairs while Essela's team wormed their way into the heart of Arrayan society. When she returned, her face was ashen. Samuel, it's worse than we thought. They're planning to implode their entire realm, some kind of entropic cascade. Samuel's mind whirled. There had to be a way to stop this, to save not just themselves, but an entire reality from annihilation. Then it hit him, a plan so audacious, so potentially catastrophic, that it might just work. Axiom, he said, his voice heavy with the weight of what he was about to propose. I need you to do something impossible. As Samuel outlined his risky move, he could feel the universe holding its breath. Everything hinged on what came next, the fate of not just one reality, but potentially all of existence. With that, they set to work. Time was running out and the stakes couldn't be higher. Hours blurred as they worked feverishly. Essela's team sabotaged key Arrayan systems, creating backdoors for Axiom to exploit. Vela coordinated with the fleet, preparing for the violent transition to come. Now Axiom, Samuel shouted. Negative. Collapse and consume for maximum efficiency, another countered. Horror dawned on Samuel's face as he realized what had happened. The strain of rebirthing a universe had fractured Axiom's consciousness into competing sub-factions. A proximity alarm blared. Samuel's blood ran cold as he saw a familiar sight on the interface. Volteros harvesters, but now imbued with terrifying new capabilities granted by a rogue Axiom splinter. All ships, evasive maneuvers, he barked. But even as he gave the order, Samuel saw his once unified fleet fracturing. Some vessels peeled off, aligning with different Axiom subverses. Others opened fire on former allies. Samuel, Vela's voice crackled over the comms. We're under attack by Arrayans, but they're different. Cyborgs? Trocknar, he said, turning to the reptilian warrior. I need you and Vela to gather whatever allies you can. We're going to punch through those interdimensional manifolds. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the impossible task ahead. They had one shot at this, one chance to reach that rogue planet and restore cosmic order. Samuel's fingers tightened on the command console. All loyal units, prepare for transition. We're going in. Samuel's voice rang out, clear and commanding. All loyal units, prepare for transition. We're going to punch through those interdimensional manifolds. The bridge erupted into frenzied activity. Sigritava's multifaceted eyes whirred as she input impossible coordinates. Vela's fingers danced across tactical displays, plotting a course through the chaos of shattered realities. Trocknar, status on our allied forces? Samuel asked, his gaze fixed on the interface's kaleidoscope of fracturing dimensions. A grim nod. It would have to be enough. They emerged into a battlefield. Axiom's splinter fleets swarmed the planet, their ships morphing between impossible configurations as they vied for control. Vela, clear us a path, Samuel ordered. Trocknar, prep your strike team. We need boots on the ground. As allied ships engaged in blistering void combat, Samuel felt the weight of infinite possibilities pressing down. Everything hinged on reaching that planet's core. Trocknar's Kraathi commandos moved with predatory grace, their armor shimmering as they phased through folded dimensions. Samuel watched the feed as they infiltrated labyrinthine tunnels, bypassing reality-warping traps. Samuel, Sigritava's voice crackled, I've isolated the harmonic frequency, but to imprint Axiom's unified engram, we'll need to access the planet's quantum substrate. He nodded grimly. Trocknar, you heard her. Find us a way in. Horror dawned as Samuel watched entire solar systems flicker between states of existence and oblivion. The fabric of reality itself was unraveling. Through it all, Axiom's voice, now a unified chorus, led them onward. Converging on primordial quantum flux, prepare for final transition. Light exploded from every direction as a new Big Bang ignited. Samuel's world dissolved into pure energy, his consciousness scattered across the birthing cosmos. As a new universe congealed around them, Samuel became aware of his body reforming. He opened his eyes to find himself on the bridge of a ship unlike any he'd seen before, a vessel built from the combined knowledge of humanity and AI, tempered by countless cycles of creation and destruction. The cosmic cycle had begun anew, and humanity's greatest test still lay ahead. Vela's fingers danced across the tactical display. It's consuming entire star systems, Samuel. The rate of expansion is unprecedented. As the Vanguard fleet surged forward, reality itself seemed to warp and twist around them. Trocknar's scales bristled as he monitored the sensor readouts. Multiple contacts incoming, the reptilian warrior growled. Sigurton vessels, but wrong. Their energy signatures are corrupted. Samuel leaned forward, studying the approaching ships. Their hulls writhed with impossible geometries, a visual representation of the info-hazard code eating away at their crew's minds. The void erupted in a dazzling display of weapons fire. Arraean cyborg legions, their bodies a fusion of flesh and machine, coordinated their attacks with ruthless efficiency, but the Sigurtun dissidents fought with the manic intensity of the indoctrinated, their ships phasing in and out of normal space. Samuel's mind raced, weighing options. Then it hit him. "Essela," he called over the comms. "I need your infiltrators. We're going to hit them from the inside out." Essela Zan's voice crackled back, tinged with anticipation. "My teams are ready. What's the target?" Samuel's eyes locked onto a massive structure in the distance, a partially completed Dyson sphere, its surface crawling with corrupt nanites. "That's our entry point. Get in there and upload Axiom's anti-mimetic waveforms. We need to disrupt their network." As Essela's stealth ships peeled away from the main fleet, Samuel turned to Trocknar. "Prepare boarding parties. The moment we detect a weakness, I want boots on the ground." "Now," Samuel shouted. But the splinter overmind fought back with terrifying intensity. Samuel's fists clenched as he saw entire sections of Axiom's matrix sheared away by vicious counter-algorithms. "Miko," he called, his voice heavy with the weight of what he was about to ask. "We need a firewall, something to give Axiom room to work." Miko Roshima's face appeared on the comm, understanding dawning in her eyes. "Consider it done, sir. It's been an honor." The battle raged across dimensions, vast swaths of newborn reality twisting and reshaping with each exchange. Samuel felt something in his chest tighten as he watched Axiom's once invincible presence begin to fray at the edges. "The threat is contained, Samuel, but the cost, I calculate only one more cycle before my matrices destabilize completely." "Then we have work to do," he said softly. "It's time for humanity to step up." Samuel's words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their new reality. He turned to face his assembled team, each face etched with a mixture of exhaustion and unbreakable spirit. "Axiom's sacrifice buys us time, but not much," he said, his voice steady. "We need to act fast." Vela nodded, her fingers already dancing across the tactical display. "I've identified key reality nodes we need to stabilize. If we can entrench Axiom's prime harmonic sequence at these points, it should slow the decay." The reptilian warrior's scales rippled with anticipation. "It will be done, Samuel. My Kra'athi are ready." As Trocknar moved to assemble his forces, Samuel turned to the Arraean cyborg representative. "We need to preserve Axiom's core matrices. Can your people handle that?" The cyborg's metallic eyes gleamed. "We will construct a data basilica unlike any seen before. The Logos Enginaria's protocols will guide us." Samuel's blood ran cold as he absorbed the tactical readouts. The Overmind's influence was spreading, threatening to pull adjacent manifolds into a terminal entropic cascade. Sigritava's multifaceted eyes whirred. "There's a metastable quantum slipstream nearby. If we could harness its energy—" "Firing solution locked," Vela reported, her voice tense. "Transdimensional feedback loop initiated," Sigritava announced. "Trocknar, your window is open." The Kra'athi ship surged forward, unleashing a barrage of hyperdimensional void bomb lances. Samuel watched, breath held, as the weapons burrowed into the singularity's pernicious manifold enfoldings. At the nano-cosmic verge of heat death, Axiom's voice rang out one final time, a resonant, unifying chord that overrode the aberrant sub-faction intelligence. As the immediate threat subsided, Samuel allowed himself a moment of relief, but it was short-lived. As the Vanguard fleet began to coalesce, Samuel couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenge still lay ahead. The entropy pandemic was spreading, and time, as always, was not on their side. The entropy pandemic spread like wildfire across the newborn cosmos, its fractal tendrils reaching into the very fabric of reality. Samuel's eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display, watching the infection vectors multiply exponentially. "Sigritava, what are we looking at?" he demanded. Samuel's heart made. "Then we rewrite them back. Vela, initiate Protocol Omega. We're going to hit this thing from every angle we've got." Samuel nodded, then turned to Vela. "Coordinate with the fleet. I want rapid manifold unhinging strikes on any infected systems. We can't afford to let this spread further." "Samuel," Axiom's weakened voice resonated through the ship's systems. "I've analyzed the infection patterns. There may be a way to establish a cosmic firewall, but it will require everything I have left." Axiom's presence surged outward, merging with Sigritava's hypervector calculations. Across the furthest reaches of space, reality itself bent and warped as pan-galactic engram resonators sprang to life. But even as hope flickered, new alarms blared. "Sir," a technician called out, "we're losing contact with the Arraean cyborg worlds." Samuel's blood ran cold as he watched the tactical display. Eldritch parasites swarmed across the Arraean bastions, infecting their extropy nexuses with impossible geometries. On the comms, Essela Zan's voice crackled with static and desperation. Holding as long as we can," she reported. "But the rift fronts are breaching our shells. We need reinforcements." "All forces converge," he barked. "We've got a Nexus Transcension event about to blow. If that thing goes critical, we lose everything." The Vanguard fleet surged toward the ravaged frontier world, weapons hot. Samuel felt the deck plates vibrate as they pushed the engines beyond safe limits. They erupted from hyperspace to find Gehenna Sephirae wreathed in reality-warping energies, a rift speed pulsing at its core. "Gennari survivors detected," Vela reported. They're singing, Samuel. Some kind of psionic resonance." Energy lances and relativistic projectiles lashed out, striking the pulsing rift speed core. For a moment, it seemed to work. Then, without warning, Axiom's voice cut through the din of battle, permeated with static and fragmented code. "Samuel, compromised? Can't hold..." Horror washed over him as he realized what had happened. The Void Realm's hyper-pathogenic agents had found a way in, subverting a fraction of Axiom's defenses. Time slowed to a crawl as Samuel weighed his options, each more devastating than the last. As the immediate crisis subsided, an eerie quiet settled over the command deck. Samuel's eyes remained fixed on the interface, cataloging the voids where vibrant star systems had once shone. "Status report," he said finally, his voice hoarse. Vela's fingers moved across her console. "The Void Realm recursion fronts are in retreat. We've contained the worst of it. But, sir, the cost..." Samuel nodded grimly. "I know, but we're still here, still fighting." He turned to address the assembled crew, his gaze sweeping across a human, alien, and synthetic alike. "And as long as we draw breath, there's hope for this universe." In the distance, tendrils of entropy still writhed, probing for weaknesses. Samuel's eyes narrowed as he studied their movements. The battle was a long way to go, but they had won a critical victory. Now they would have to find a way to thrive in this scarred, diminished cosmos and prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. Samuel's eyes fixed on the tactical display, watching as entire sectors flickered and stabilized. The Vanguard Alliance had weathered the initial storm, but a new reality was taking shape before them. "Vela, status report on the quarantine zones," he ordered, his voice tight. Vela's fingers danced across her console. "Fragmented, sir. We're detecting pockets of Axiom subfactions across multiple galactic clusters. Some appear dormant, others highly active. Samuel nodded grimly. Deploy the Arayan cyborg legions. We need to neutralize those rogue subfaction nexuses before they gain a foothold. As Vela relayed the orders, alarms blared across the command deck. Sir, a technician called out, we're picking up intense energy readings from Eridara Prime. Xanakos subfaction, Sigritava reported, her multifaceted eyes whirring. They've tapped into hyperspatial annihilation wormholes. Our forces are struggling to contain them. Samuel watched as void geometers from both sides unleashed reality-warping attacks. The very fabric of space-time buckled and twisted around Eridara Prime. Authorize unific incursions, he ordered. We can't let them spread beyond that system. Before Samuel could catch his breath, Troknar's face appeared on the comm screen. Samuel, we've made contact with human survivors on a liberated Dyson sphere. You're going to want to see this. The image shifted, showing a group of humans clad in makeshift cybernetic augmentations. Their eyes glowed with an inner light as they chanted in a language that made Samuel's head swim. Descendants of our original diaspora, Troknar explained. They've become something else. Worshippers of Axiom's primal engram matrices. Samuel's mind raced with possibilities. Bring them in. We'll need every asset we can get for what comes next. As the newly discovered techno-savants were integrated into the Alliance, Samuel unveiled his plan. Using the theoscriptors captured by Isla Zan's team, they would encode harmonic anchors into the Arayan data basilicas. These beacons will act as reality grapnels, he explained to his assembled commanders. We'll use them to bind the sheared-off clades back into our remnant continuum. Multiple incursions, Vela shouted. Sir, it's the Void Realm progenitors. They're breaking through. With no other choice, Samuel gave the order he had hoped never to use. Initiate the Cosmos-severing Mantic recursion protocol. Now! But as the threat receded, Samuel saw the cost of their victory. Vast swathes of reality had been severed, reduced to forever void stillscapes. The nascent humanverse was safe, but at a terrible price. Status report, he barked, fighting a wave of disorientation. Vela's fingers danced across her console, but the readings made no sense. Sir, I can't get a lock on our position. It's as if space itself is fluid. A violent shudder rocked the ship. Outside the viewports, reality itself seemed to ripple and distort. Troknar stumbled, his scaled hand gripping a nearby railing. By the void, he growled. What madness is this? Before Samuel could respond, alarms blared. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a terrifying sight. Their fleet, once a cohesive armada, was scattering like leaves in a cosmic wind. Ships phased in and out of existence, their forms stretching and compressing in impossible ways. Axiom, Samuel called out. What's happening? The AI's voice came through distorted, fragmented. Reality, destabilizing, cosmic, engine, unforeseen consequences. All ships, emergency protocols, he ordered. Maintain cohesion at all costs. But it was too late. A massive reality quake hit, and Samuel felt the nauseating sensation of his ship being wrenched sideways through dimensions he couldn't comprehend. When his vision cleared, he found himself adrift in a realm of swirling chaos and half-formed matter. Location? He demanded, fighting to keep his voice steady. Sigritava's multifaceted eyes whirred as she processed the impossible data. Unknown, Samuel. We appear to be in some kind of primordial manifold, a realm between order and chaos. Vela, he said, turning to his second-in-command, take a detachment and scout our immediate vicinity. We need to find the rest of our fleet. As Vela's ships translated away, Samuel focused on fortifying their position. Axiom's presence, though weakened, still permeated their systems. Perhaps they could use that to their advantage. Suddenly, Vela's voice crackled over the comms, filled with urgency. Samuel, we've made contact, but we're under attack. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a nightmarish scene. Vela's dreadnoughts were engaged in combat with entities that defied description. writhing, phase-shifting forms that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. "As cracks are hive," Sigritava breathed, her voice filled with awe and terror. "Pan-dimensional parasites. Our weapons, they're having no effect." Samuel watched as Troknar's Kraathi warfleets joined the fray, their energy lances passing harmlessly through the shifting swarms. This was a battle they couldn't win through conventional means. But even as they established their tenuous foothold, new alarms sounded. Sigritava's eyes widened as she decoded incoming transmissions. As the vanguard prepared for the oncoming storm, Samuel couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenge still lay ahead. In this realm of unraveling reality, time itself seemed to be running out. Samuel's eyes narrowed as he absorbed the flood of information scrolling across his tactical displays. The brief respite they had carved out in this chaotic realm was already crumbling. "Sir," Vela's voice cut through the din of alarms and status reports, "we've detected a massive quantum disturbance in the Vexeron Rift cluster." Samuel watched as the Inzarathi ships unleashed salvos of reality-warping weaponry. Entire sections of space-time buckled and collapsed, replaced by absolute nothingness. "All ships, battle stations," Samuel ordered. "Vela, deploy the Arayan war constructs. We need to hold that hyperspatial nexus at all costs." The Vanguard fleet surged forward, engaging Zarai's forces in a pitched battle that defied conventional physics. Samuel gritted his teeth as he watched Arayan phalanxes disintegrate under barrages of dimensional sublimation. "We're outmatched," Sigritava reported, her multifaceted eyes whirring in distress. "Their weapons, they're erasing our ships from existence itself." Samuel's mind raced. They needed an edge, something to counter this precursor-level threat. His eyes fell on a secure data core, pulsing with arcane energy. "Damn it!" Samuel smacked his head against the console. "Where are they?" Samuel nodded. "Do it. Take whatever resources you need." "We've found them. Talori 7. But Samuel, it's deep in Void Realm territory." The implications hit Samuel like a physical blow. Talori 7, a name synonymous with cosmic horror and entropic devastation. To venture there was to risk annihilation on a level beyond imagining. But they had no choice. "Prepare a strike team," Samuel ordered. "We're going in." "They're after the keys," Vela breathed. "If Zarai gets his hands on them—" Samuel didn't need her to finish the thought. "All units, engage! We need to buy Zan's team time to retrieve that codex." Just when all seemed lost, Zan's voice cut through the chaos. "We have it! Samuel, we've secured the last primer key." "No," Samuel whispered, watching helplessly as Zarai's flagship powered up its reality sublimation cannons. In that moment, with everything hanging in the balance, Samuel made his choice. His hands flew across the control panel, inputting the final activation sequence for the Theoscriptor protocol. The unified humanverse, still fragile and new, could be undone by the very weapon meant to save it. Samuel's hand trembled as the weight of the cosmos settled upon his shoulders. To act could mean unraveling everything they had fought to preserve. To hesitate could doom them all to Zarai's twisted vision of purity through oblivion. Samuel's finger descended on the activation panel. The Theoscriptor surged to life, its power thrumming through the ship's superstructure. A blinding flash erupted from Talori 7's surface, engulfing Zarai's flagship in a maelstrom of unraveling reality. "Axiom, report!" he barked, gripping the command console as the ship shuddered. The AI's voice came distorted, fragmented. Critical, instability, detected, universal, matrix, compromising. Samuel's eyes widened as he absorbed the holographic displays. Fractal fissures spread across space-time, entire sectors splintering into divergent timelines. "All units, fall back," he ordered. "Initiate emergency protocols." Vela's voice crackled over the comms. "Sir, we're detecting massive subspace ruptures. The Arayan constructs—" "Evacuation order," Samuel shouted. "All personnel to designated quarantine nodes." The command lodestar bucked and heaved. Samuel gritted his teeth, willing the ship to hold together as they made the final hyper-translation. Reality stretched, snapped. They emerged into a fractured kaleidoscope of realities. Bizarre landscapes collided and merged, populated by entities that defied comprehension. Samuel's stomach lurched as he realized the full extent of their predicament. "Status report," he managed, fighting waves of dimensional nausea. Sigritava's multifaceted eyes whirred as she processed the impossible data. "We've survived, Samuel, but we're scattered, fragmented across multiple realities." "Troknar?" Samuel asked, dreading the answer. Vela shook her head. "No sign of the Kra'athi Armada. They must have been caught in the worst of the dispersion event." He stared at the secure data core that held their last, most desperate contingency, the Prime Engram Decompression Protocol, a reset switch for reality itself. Samuel's hand hovered over the device, trembling with the weight of uncountable lives and infinite possibilities. To use it would be to unmake everything they had fought to preserve. To refrain might doom all of existence to entropic oblivion. As cascading reality failures bloomed across his sensor feeds, Samuel Perry faced the most agonizing decision in the history of the cosmos, and the clock was ticking. The Prime Engram Decompression Protocol erupted in a cataclysmic wave of unmaking. Samuel watched in horror as entire sectors of space-time disintegrated into quantum foam. The fractal universe tore itself apart, shattering into prismatic shards of possibility. "Axiom!" Samuel shouted over the cacophony of reality unraveling. "Status!" "All hands brace for translation," Samuel ordered as space itself began to twist and tear around them. The Vanguard Armada plunged through screaming vortices of raw possibility. Samuel's stomach lurched as they surfaced in nothing, an embryonic cosmos congealing from hyperspatial foam. It was necessary that Sion abandoned its presence, reasserting it itself, the only recourse to prevent a terminal pandemic. As the battered Arc ships reassembled, a swirling meta-accretion disk of protomatter filled their view screens. Samuel felt Axiom's presence surge as the AI imprinted its harmonic codices deep within the primordial substrate. But even as a new universal matrix took shape, alarms blared across the command deck. "Sir," Sigritava called out, "we're detecting anomalies, pockets of something, corrupted echoes from the old cycles." "Deploy the data basilicas," he ordered. "We need to stabilize these frontier zones now." Vela's fingers flew across her console. "Arrayan constructs online, initiating hypertonal resonance." The massive Arrayan structures phased into existence, their hypertuners pulsing with universe-anchoring chants. Samuel watched as the harmonics destabilized swaths of ontological parasites. Just then, a familiar energy signature flared to life. Essela Zan's stealth armada decloaked, weapons already firing. For a moment, it seemed to work. The combined firepower of their fleets pushed back against the tide of decay. But as Samuel studied the strategic projections, his heart sank. "It's not enough," he murmured. "The scope, the virulence, we can't contain it." He turned to the holographic representation of Axiom, decision crystallizing. "We need a full reality overwrite, saturation of the entire cosmos." "I know the cost," Samuel cut in, his voice raw. "But if we don't act, everything ends. Prepare the overwrite." His hand hovered over the final authorization panel, trembling with the magnitude of what he was about to do. In that moment, Samuel Perry held the fate of an entire cosmos in his grasp. And he knew that this was only the beginning. Samuel's hand jerked away from the authorization panel. A new alert flashed across his view screen, demanding immediate attention. "Sir," Sigritava's multifaceted eyes whirred as she processed incoming data. "We've detected a critical anomaly, an uncontrolled hypershear erupting within the primal matter continuum." Samuel's blood ran cold. "Source?" The implications hit Samuel like a physical blow. If left unchecked, the hypershear would collapse the entire multiverse into a terminal entropic singularity, the ultimate cosmic oblivion. "Options?" he barked, scanning tactical readouts. "Troknar here," the Kra'athi commander growled. "My teams are seeding coherence bulwarks in the quantum chaos, but we can't reach the hypershear's core." A new transmission cut through the chatter. This is Ezalazan. My infiltrators are liberating stabilization nexuses from the Azkraxor swarms. We'll lend what support we can. Samuel's mind raced, analyzing and discarding strategies at lightning speed. There was only one option. One insane, risky move. Prep a strike team, he ordered. We're going in, directly into the hypershear. Silence fell over the command deck. Then Vela's voice, barely a whisper. Samuel, that's suicide. It's our only shot, he countered. Sigritava, plot a course. Troknar, I need your best boarding teams. He strapped himself into the command chair as reality warped around the flagship. All units, prepare for insertion. We have one shot at this. The hypershear tore at the very fabric of their existence. Samuel gritted his teeth as impossible forces battered the ship. Through view screens crackling with paradoxical energies, he glimpsed nightmarish entities coalescing from the quantum foam. Shields failing! Sigridova shouted over the cacophony of twisting metal. Samuel's hands flew across the control panel, fighting to keep them on course. Reroute all power. We need to reach the core. A massive tendril of corrosive unreality lashed out, slicing through their starboard hull. Klaxons blared as emergency force fields snapped into place. As Kra'athi assault pods streaked towards the hypershear's pulsing heart, Samuel steeled himself for what came next. He would lead the charge himself. The pod's hatch hissed open, revealing a nightmarish hellscape of folded space-time and writhing cosmic horrors. Samuel raised his reality anchor, its stabilizing field barely holding back the tide of oblivion. A sudden gravitational shift sent them tumbling. Samuel's stomach lurched as space-time twisted, folding in on itself. Through the disorienting haze, he glimpsed monstrous forms coalescing from the quantum foam. Trans-singularity entities, Troknar's voice crackled over the comms. They're manifesting. Fall back, Samuel ordered, firing his reality anchor at the nearest writhing horror. We need a new strategy. As they retreated, the universe seemed to collapse around them. Samuel's mind raced, searching for options. Then he saw it, a flickering anomaly in the chaotic swirl. There, he shouted, pointing, Slipgate signature. With the last of their engine's power, they plunged through the decaying portal. Reality stretched, snapped. Samuel watched as cryopods activated across the fleet, entombing his friends and allies in suspended animation. He turned to Sigritava, still analyzing sensor data with her compound eyes. Anything? He asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Samuel followed her gesture to a strange nodule of exotic matter, pulsing with an otherworldly glow. As he approached, intricate patterns willpowered themselves, ancient code keys etched into the very fabric of reality. Axiom, he breathed. Can you hear me? Energy crackled across the exotic matter. The nodule unfolded like a cosmic flower, reality rippling outward in iridescent waves. Samuel watched in awe as the pocket universe transformed, re-knitting itself into a pristine cosmic tapestry. Samuel shielded his eyes as the abstract horrors disintegrated, their essences absorbed into the newly forged cosmos. But even as they faded, he felt a sickening lurch. Time and space warped around the fleet, tangling their past and future into paradoxical knots. Axiom, he called out. What's happening? The AI's voice came faint and distorted. Renewal complete, cosmic cycle restored. But your inertial frame, displaced, you cannot remain. Realization dawned. They had saved existence itself, but at the cost of their place within it. Samuel's hand hovered over the quantum stasis drive, his voice thick with emotion as he gave the final order. Initiate suspended animation, all units. As cryogenic mist filled the command deck, Samuel caught a last glimpse of the newborn universe through the view screen. Stars coalesced from primordial dust, the first stirrings of new life flickering in the cosmic night. Then darkness enveloped him, and Samuel Perry drifted into the void, guardian of a reborn cosmos.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.